do it. Let's get right into it. Let's start off with the boxing. I'm going to start off with the main event. This was in San Antonio, Texas. This was on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, and this was the WBC interim super lightweight title fight between Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach. And I thought this was a really good fight, very competitive. It was a close bout, but it ended with a lot of controversy. And both fighters, of course, both fighters are fighters. They're going to think they were robbed. They were going to think they won. But when I see and I read on the comments of the internet, it's pretty split out there, both ways trying to make a case of why their guy they're backing was robbed. I don't see a robbery at the end of the day either way. I saw a very close competitive fight, a fight that both fighters had their moment, a fight that Cruz landed the biggest shot in the knockdown, and a fight where the referee, as you said in the live stream, and also putting up a tweet, he was too involved. And it felt like he was interfering with the fight. But at the end of the day, I thought it came down to the championship rounds. And it was that close to me. Whoever wins these rounds wins the fight. And I thought Cruz won the 11th and 12th round. And for that, I would have gave it and had him eking it out. I'm fine with the draw. Let's get the rematch, though, this time, as Roach's last fight was a draw. And obviously did not get the rematch versus Tank Davis. But I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your breakdown of the fight and what you thought overall of the decision.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I concur with what you said with that. And I guess I would just sort of add to some of the things that you said and maybe just color it in a little bit more. But I think I never want to see the referee become the subject of the fight or a main part of the fight. Let him, don't ever get me wrong, let him keep the fight within the lanes that it needs to be a fair, fight, to be by the rules, to obviously protect both fighters at the end of the day. That's what he's there for. It's a very brutal sport, very, dangerous sport. So the referee's there for that. But he's not there to impose himself into the decision of the fight. I just thought he was kind of quick with that point. And if you don't take that point away that he takes away from Cruz for hitting in the back of the hip is where he was pointing to. If you don't take that point away, obviously we're not listening to the broadcast. We're live streaming ourselves, so we're not getting the narrative and the explanation of everything. But he doesn't take that point away. Cruz wins the fight. And it just seemed kind of quick. I know a lot of people are going to say Cruz is dirty, he's this, he's that. No, he's a fighter. His style, I mean, it is what it is. You get what you get with Cruz. He's going to come in there, he's going to barnstorm, he's going to wing, he's going to throw to the body. Some are going to go a little left, some are going to go a little right, some are going to go a little low. The referee has to control all that, no doubt about it. But I don't ever believe that Cruz is a guy that's looking to be dirty. I think that's just, he wasn't gifted with some of the abilities that other guys are gifted with. This was his gift. This is his gift. So he builds. What do you do when you build a fighter? You build around their strength. His strength is to be relentless. His strength is to be physical. His strength is to be, always coming forward, to endure, and to impose his will on you. So they build around that strength. So he fights in the identity of those strengths. And again, with that, you're not going to get all Marcus of Queensberry type look. You're going to get that with Roach. Roach, to his credit, he fights the way going in. I had said when we were handicapping the fight, by the way, full disclosure, I picked Cruz to win a decision in this. And it's not sour grapes. I didn't score the fight, but I have no problem with a draw. The only problem I have is that at the end of the day, if it was as close as it felt it was, he did take the 10th and 11th, and not every judge was on board with that. Most of them were, but they weren't all on board with that 10th and 11th. We should probably put the cards up for the people up there, and I'm sure that you already have that planned. But I just feel that it's hard to argue that he didn't take those last 2 rounds. And if those last 2 rounds would have made a difference, then even there, you would have eked it out for Cruz. And when I made the pick this way. If you look at in the ropes and everything that my son puts up there, you'll see not only the side that I wind up going, or the prop that I wind up going with, but you'll see why. And it's all typed out. I don't type. I write it. My son types it out. Thank God he went to college and learned things that his old man never learned. But at the end of the day, I made no argument about the technically sounder fighter was Roach going in. And it showed throughout. He would throw the cleaner punches. He would throw sniper punches. You know, he would be accurate. He would throw the kind of textbook punches you expect when you're talking about the sweet science. Short and snappy, straight and true. He would look to control range. He would even be able to fight on the inside a little bit, maybe punching inside some of the widest shots of Cruz. At the end of the day, he would want to control the geography on the outside, use the jab, do a lot of counter punching. You know, do what I always say, that saying of mine. Make the shorter man go through a bad neighborhood to get to you, and then mug him. He was doing that, but I also said in the write-up, he does a lot of single shots. And while he does all these things so well, like he did against Tank Davis, where a lot of people thought he got, robbed in that fight, where it was also a draw, as you pointed out, he allows sometimes for somebody to out-hustle him. In other words, his offensive output's not always that steady or that consistent. It doesn't take away from all the accolades I just threw at him. They're all true. And that's why it was a hard fight for me to handicap. But at the end, I went on the side that I thought Cruz would be able to fight his fight enough to outwork Roach, where he could win enough rounds that way with his body work, again, with his relentless style, with his volume of punches. There was never a doubt that the cleaner puncher, the cleaner looking fighter, the guy that you expect to see when you talk about an elite boxer, that would look to be Roach. At the end of the day, again, I thought it went the side of Cruz. It deserves a rematch. I'm going to throw in something a little different. I think sometimes the fans get influenced by listening to the commentators. I think they get obviously influenced by cheering for their own guy. I understand that. But it just seemed, I didn't listen to the broadcast, but a few people thought that a lot of people were telling me that the broadcast team was really kind of, I don't know, favoring is too strong a word, but really building up the side a little bit of all the good things I just pointed out that Roach was doing. And especially down the stretch before the 11th round, the championship rounds. Yeah, I thought that Cruz slowed down his output in some of those later rounds. No doubt about it. So that could emphasize the counterpunching. That could put a greater light when there's less chaos, less action. What are you going to see? You're going to see the cleaner punches. You're going to see the guy who is in that mode of fighting. It's going to look the way you want it to look. I actually thought there was some body language of Roach that really, and I hope this is understood by people the way I try to get it to be understood, and it's a hard thing to explain. but where he kind of, I would never use the word con, because there's no con in a ring when you have two fighters going at their earnest, going after each other, risking what they risk, purely facing things that most people never have to face up front the way they do. Your own doubts, your own, inhibitions, your own shortcomings of whatever they may have been in the past, whatever might have been connected with some of those doubts. There's nothing quite like two men that get in the ring and do that. But we do have a picture in our minds of what that boxer should look like. And when you have one guy who looks more like that boxer, which it was Roach, I think that it just magnifies what he's doing in a way where you're not seeing what the other guy's doing so much. You're not seeing that Cruz is still throwing a lot. He's still landing to the body. Yeah, they're not as crisp, but there's still an efficiency and effectiveness that shouldn't be discounted. That our attention is taken more to where Roach, with his style, can sell what he's doing. He can sell it. He can put it out there to grab more attention, to grab more of a light, to grab more of just of a belief that he's being more effective. When he moves off and he strides off and he throws those single clean shots and he moves off, that some of them aren't landing completely clean. But he's thrown them in a perfect way. He's thrown them in a formed way that we automatically attach to a greater level of accomplishment, of maybe even of ability. And automatically, I think we favor that style. And I think that Roach did a good job of fighting. I mean, you can't fake that. There's nothing that I'm talking about in that way. But he sold his style to the audience, maybe to the judges, in the way that he presented himself, in a more deliberate, boxing, favorable way, a way that could be more acceptable to, wow, that's what it should be. That's what it should be, not that. And it took away a little bit from, I think, some of the things that Cruz maybe could have gotten credit for, or should have gotten credit for. Close fight either way. Styles do make fights. What do you like? Do you like the guy that fights in a clean way where every punch you can see? Or do you like the guy who, again, do you like the guy who paints like a Rembrandt? Or do you like the guy who goes in there and he paints like a graffiti board? But at the end of the day, it's still art. It's still art. It's just one guy's art is different than the other guy's art. Whose art is more appreciated? And I think that was involved in this fight. I really do. I just wanted to make sure I put that out there because I know that that's probably not something that people are going to really hear too much about because I don't think there's too much understood about it. Close fight. Again, we got that, it was a draw, so we don't get that win. I did lose on the Colt feature. I lost on that one with Fulton and Foster. It broke our string. We had a hell of a string going. But before that, we did give an extra one out there where we did it live. We did, of course, the Lara fight live with Gonzalez, and at the last minute, as they were getting in the ring, as the bell was getting ready to start, I said that the fight would go the distance, and you got plus back some money on that. Tried to make up for the loss.
I think that was a good breakdown by you, but I think the only thing I would add before moving on to these other fights that you're touching on is that with this fight, in the lead up to this, Roach's inactivity, he hadn't fought in so long. I thought he would fall behind early on. But I think where people, what you're describing and see the disconnect, you use the word conning of Roach, I think it was seeing the reverse style that they're not accustomed to seeing in Cruz. There was a big adjustment in this fight. In this fight, Cruz was not the man coming forward all the time. He had to make an adjustment. He became the boxer. He showed a dimension I didn't think he had. He took angles. And I think that wasn't accustomed to what the commentators and the judges are used to in Cruz, and maybe it affects some of their scoring. When I look at the scorecards of this fight, I don't know how all three judges did not give the 11th round. And how do all the judges, when the point was deducted from Cruz in the 7th, every judge gave that round to Roach. Not one gave it to Cruz, where it could have been 9-9 and then changed at the scorecards. I think the adjustments in the styles might have played into what you were just saying as well.
Yeah, listen, I don't think that one round that was dramatically different than what Cruz had been doing and does do. He started to box. I said he outboxed Roach that one round. I know a lot of people probably going to attack me for that, and that's fine, but I'll stand by it. For that one round, he outboxed him in a different way than he didn't out-aggression him or outwork him, or just push him back. He actually boxed brilliantly. He moved laterally, he stepped out, he gave angles, as you just said, he picked spots. He showed a dimension that most people don't think Cruz has. And you could understand why. And I think part of why he had to do that was Roach was counterpunching well, so he couldn't just come in aggressively. He didn't want to be countered. So he came up with an option. He came up with something else. And the bottom line is he came up with it. That he did that. It wasn't a mirage. We were seeing him do that. And I think that you're right, that drew people off. And when they saw that in their mind, they may have thought that he was capitulating to what Roach was doing, and he was trying to mimic Roach, and he was maybe lost, maybe doubtful that his style could work the way it usually works. Instead of looking at it as a positive, that he was showing another side to himself. Again, another dimension that made sense for him. And then he went back to being aggressive. So I think he didn't get credit for that. And I don't think that was understood. And I do think that was in the air. For all the things that at the end of the day may have conspired against him. I'll finish by what I started with. I didn't think the referee treated him really completely fairly, and Roach and Cruz said that himself. I didn't think he completely treated him fairly at the end of the day. And that was interesting what you said about the live scoring. When I heard that live scoring, how phenomenally high it was and large it was.
Not live scoring, the live odds, you're saying.
The live odds, I'm sorry. How high it was. I'm hearing it and I'm saying this is still a close fight. Why are they making those odds so high? Are they influenced by what I just finished talking about? Are they influenced by that? Are they influenced by the commentating? Are they influenced by all these scenarios that are in the air of the arena? Not just the two fighters, but above, mixed in there with the fight? And I think the answer is yeah. I don't know how those odds could be that high. At the end of the day, I guess they'll wind up doing it again, probably. Yeah, and maybe we'll get an answer then.